Peter Piper picked a patch of pickled ranch. Hi everyone, Talon from the Airsoft headquarters here, and today we're going to do another A.A.R. If you guys think that these videos are okay, you should give me a thumbs up. So today we're going to break down one of the first clips that I have from an older event that we went to, Operation Serious Viking, down in Georgia at the Guardian Center training facility. As far as this Serious Viking event was trying to assault one of the first buildings that we actually ran up to. It wasn't necessarily an objective-based building, but we did need to capture it and move through in order to remain undercover. There was an active helicopter roaming the entire area. We were trying to move into that forested area and also try to use buildings as cover. Unfortunately, the other team's air assault, air dropped force, essentially the guys that could pre-deploy, were already occupying the woods and the buildings in that area. So we had a very hard time pushing through. In fact, let's run the short little clip that I have of this incident that I'm going to try to break down for you guys with this diorama.
Come here, machine gunner. Back here to the left, in the cover. All right, so then this is our only move upwards.
So essentially one of the first things to take away from this is the fact that I hate when airsoft guys are like push, 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 and they're screaming push. It's like they're in the delivery room when their wives are in labor. They're just screaming push as hard as they can, as loud as they can, but they themselves don't push with you. So as you guys saw, we did push up the stairs. It was myself as number 1 guy and my guy Lawrence as number 2 guy. And Lawrence, you the real MVP. You pushed with me. You helped provide support. I appreciate you guys. But the most frustrating thing is at the start of the clip, you see exactly how many bodies are on the first building, right? There's that entire group of bodies that are trying to capture the two buildings that are in our way. And yet somehow only two of that group actually make it up the stairwell. Granted that we did have like multiple dispersions between the two buildings. But if you take half of that group, that's still a sizable enough force. In fact, if you look at all of the guys that were occupying this first floor where we were, there was enough guys in order to actually storm up that stairwell in order to take the guys out. Now, I don't show the clips because over several minutes, we're laying there, we're bleeding out. But essentially, on the second floor where we have the enemies occupying, there was an enemy here on this corner, enemy over here, enemy right about here, and then a bunch of enemies way in the back corners here. Just like there was like 8 or less guys. So not a large force, but they did have the advantage because we couldn't go up this second stairway. This was intentionally broken. We could not move up it. We could shoot up there. We could throw grenades up there. But the only way that we were able to actually go up into the second story there was to utilize this stairwell here. So I'm going to use the black marker here. So our large force of guys come in this doorway right here. We sweep everything as far as the first floor. We gain occupation. We have control of the first floor. We're calling out directions as far as movements in the forest, if there's any type of tan in the surrounding area. And then we have grenades that are falling from this stairwell here, so which tells us that there are guys up there. And the fact that we have a couple of guys, green team, so our team, that are at the base of the stairwell that are shooting up through to the second story, that are actively shooting at tan team, lets us know, everyone that just came in, that, hey, there's enemies on the second story. We got to go up there. We got to take them out. Unfortunately, all of the guys that are at the base of the stairwell don't want to push. They're doing what they're supposed to do. The smart thing would be to throw grenades up into the second story. The issue is that there's the entire second floor of guys up here. So the smart thing for tan guys to do, and there was a couple of smart tan guys that just sat back here, they just hung back, and they're like, you know what? There's only one point where green could possibly come up and actually start to, shoot back at us. Like there's only one point of entry. This is a case of a fatal funnel where you got the rats coming out of one entry point and it's super narrow, and you can put as many guns as you want back here. If you get all 8 guns on that one position, all the guys on this stairwell are going to have a really hard time getting up there. So the best thing to do would be to kind of lob grenades into this corner, lob some grenades into this corner, maybe over here, kind of intersperse them in the hard corners or the softer corners, whatever you want to call them, so that we can clear these guys out from our immediate points so that we can focus fire deeper into the room. But we don't have a very good time with that because there's only 2 guys that are actively pushing up that stairwell. Now, being first guy, it is very difficult to clear these stairs. There is 180 degrees that I could be shot from. So even if my head doesn't completely clear that surface of plane, that plane of the second story, or the second floor, excuse me, even if my head doesn't completely clear it, I could still actively get shot at a slightly downwards angle from literally 180 degrees. Doesn't matter if it's this corner, or anywhere back here. They know exactly where I'm coming from, and they could just lay down hate. So the only smart thing to do in that case is, as point man, I have to have my gun pointed upwards. I have to have my focus pointed right here. I'm dependent on my second guy to have my back covered behind me right here. That's just how the tactics work there. So what happens is when we get to the point of pushing where we're supposed to have, because I can't look over my shoulder, like I can't do one of these, because if I take my eyes away from the top of the stairs here for just that 1 second, I could lose any type of focus of their grenades coming into the stairwell or one of their heads popping up so I could shoot at them, right? So my focus needs to be up. So I'm dependent on having everyone else behind me push up with me. And right, with all the guys that are yelling, push, 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 you would assume that they would also want to be some of the guys that want to push that second floor. But of course, no. So when we get to the climax, as far as getting to that threshold of that plane for the second floor, right before we break that threshold, do a quick couple of steps, try to get it in as deep as possible, and you see me try to focus fire on the guy that's standing or kneeling right here, because if I can get just one guy, I know that there's 8 other barrels pointed right at me. If I can take one barrel out of that equation, that makes things way easier for the funnel of guys that are supposed to be right behind me. But it doesn't help if no one's right behind me, except for Lawrence. Thank you, Lawrence. 2 guys cannot successfully clear an entire second floor of 8 other guys. So what happened to the remaining 15, 20 guys that still were meandering down here? They just hung out. They didn't push up the stairwell with us. They stayed down there. They stayed safe. Didn't get hurt. Didn't get killed. Lawrence and myself ended up having to go back to the spawn, and we had to spawn back in, effective immediately. So what's the moral of the story? What's the actual breakdown of this? If you're one of the guys that's going to yell, push, 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 and you're not fucking pushing, then you can shut the fuck up. If you're not going to actively push with me, right? What did you not hear me yell? Push, push, push. Where was I? I was number 1 in this stack, baby. Who was number 2? My guy Lawrence. Who was number 3? No one. No one was number 3. Why was there no number 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? There were so many guys down here. So many of you motherfuckers yelling push. Where the fuck were you when we pushed? So I guess you guys didn't want to push that badly. So if you're not going to push, shut up. If we don't need to push, then don't tell us to push, right? Because really at this point, we technically didn't need to take out second story. Like looking back, we didn't need to clear that out, right? We could have just sat down there. We would have been safe from their grenades. We would have been safe from their fire, right? We could have just sat down there for the entire event because they have nowhere to go other than to a third story. But what does that third story hold? None of our objectives, right? So we technically had no reasons to push into the second story or into the third story. Is it a little unfair for them to have occupation of that second and third floor while so close to our spawn? Yeah, it makes things a little bit harder for us tan guys in order to move into those other objectives. We kind of have to like re-maneuver ourselves into a different direction to bypass the first couple of buildings that these guys are occupying. But if we're not in a position where we don't need to get shot at or we don't need to die immediately, then we really don't need to die. But at the other point, conveniently, we were so close to spawn. Conveniently. So when Lawrence and I died, bled out, walked back to spawn, we were able to come right back in and just bypass the building, join the rest of our guys in the squad, and continue onwards and let the guys in the second story and third story just hang out. Because where are they going to go? They're not going to go anywhere. So, either push with me or shut up is essentially the moral of that story. So that's the A.A.R. Talon gets shot a lot. No one pushes with him. And you guys have the benefit of seeing Talon get lit up. So that's all I have for you guys. Let me know down in the comment section below if you like some of these breakdown type of things. I like being able to pull from other footage that I may otherwise not put onto the channel just because it may not be one of those super action-y based things. It may not make it to an actual gameplay video. So it's really cool to like still feature some of the footage that we've collected over our events, you know, and maybe give you guys a base of information as far as maybe how you could learn from this based on some of the mistakes that I have learned and how you guys can benefit from it. So let me know. Otherwise, that's essentially all that we have here. So you guys continue to rock on. You guys take care, stay safe, stay positive, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.